got this video from Voidzilla called "Epstein Rewrites Are Making Me Crazy," which honestly I completely sympathize with his thoughts and his feelings here, because like I kind of feel the same way, except I don't feel crazy because I don't believe what the administration is saying. I think that it helps a lot, right? Because if you don't believe him as he's lying, then, you know, of course you're just gonna be like, oh well, yeah, that's kind of what I expected him to say. So anyways, here goes. This is a shorter video, but I'm really curious to see what CoffeeZilla's thoughts are on Jeffrey Epstein's the latest developments, because this came out just 20 hours ago.
There are more rewrites in the Epstein story than in a Harry Potter fan fiction. It seems like every time I turn around, huge parts of the story, of the official story, have been completely changed to the point that the most interesting part of the story are the rewrites, the changes. Many people, like myself, have been obsessed with the fact that the facts keep moving as we move the goalposts. First, it was the Epstein list. It existed, it's a cover-up, then it doesn't exist, now it's a hoax, then Trump's gonna give us the list. Then we have the changes to the Epstein footage story. It doesn't exist, yes it does, here's the raw footage, except no, we saved it in Premiere Pro multiple times.
Yeah, but weird. Now, wait, I heard a recent report that there was no cut in the original footage. Now, I don't know, I think this might have been leaked to the New York Times. I don't know how accurate this is, but I did hear a rumor that that is the case. Now, that doesn't shock me at all. You know, I assumed that. I always thought that the whole, like, oh, the recorder skips a beat every day was kind of like a BS response. Like, I was pretty sure that, like, that wasn't true. But, you know, having that confirmed with an anonymous source is certainly interesting, to say the least.
Now it's a hoax, then Trump's going to give us the list. Then we have the changes to the Epstein footage story. It doesn't exist, yes it does, here's the raw footage, except no, we saved it in Premiere Pro multiple times. But now we're getting changes to the story of the very breakup between our president and Jeffrey Epstein. Look, for years we've been told that Trump kicked out Epstein from Mar-a-Lago because Epstein harassed the daughter of another member. This apparently all happened in 2007, and it sort of symbolized proof of how the president couldn't have been involved in this. After all, why would you kick someone out for being creepy if you were somehow involved in all of it? But now there's a news story coming from our president himself. He expounded in Scotland about the real reason that Jeffrey Epstein and him had a falling out.
He stole people that work for me. I said, don't ever do that again. He did it again, and I threw him out of the place.
So there it is. Rather than a member's daughter being harassed, it seems like instead it was over a worker dispute. Immediately after...
Let's be honest, it could be both. Right, and I actually heard this story this past week, and that was my thought. I was like, well, it could be both, right? Could be harassing someone's daughter, could be, you know, that he was poaching employees. Maybe Donald Trump did not want folks to sort of do some digging as far as who worked in Mar-a-Lago and who might have possibly been on Epstein's island. That's why he didn't mention the whole poaching employees thing. But I mean, I think that it's fair to say that this might not be an outright lie, to be honest.
After this news story about workers being stolen came out, it was clarified that he's specifically talking about workers being stolen from the spa.
And people were taken out of the spa, hired by him. In other words, gone. And other people would come and complain, this guy is taking people from the spa. I didn't know that.
Did one of those stolen, you know, persons, that include Virginia Jeffrey?
I don't know. I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people. Yeah. He stole her.
Now, this is a remarkable change in our story because Virginia Giuffre is one of the lead accusers of Jeffrey Epstein. Everyone knew she was...
I thought she died.
Was recruited at Mar-a-Lago. Now Trump is saying he not only knew about it, this is one of the reasons that he kicked out Epstein, apparently. People complained about Epstein at the time.
Other people would come and complain, this guy is taking people from the spa. I didn't know that.
Now, the reason this matters is because it completely changes our timeline. Remember, we had heard that he kicked Epstein out for being a creep in 2007. Now, this places us way over in 2000 when we're first hearing complaints from the spa, because Virginia Giuffre, there's a very clear timeline from court documents that she was terminated in 2000. when she would have been a minor. She met Ghislaine Maxwell, not Epstein. But it's also a problem for when everything happened, because it's not until 2002, then there's the famous quote from Donald Trump about Jeffrey Epstein saying, I've known Jeff for 15 years, terrific guy, he's very fun to be with. It's even said he likes beautiful women as much as I do. Many of them are on the younger side. So if he's already had a...
I want to be fair. Right? It's possible to have your employees poached without knowing that you're being poached, right? Like, it says there that he knew Jeffrey Epstein for 15 years. So he knew Jeffrey Epstein. But as time goes on, right, you spend more time with the person, the more you know about them, right? So it's possible that you knew Jeffrey Epstein, whatever. They were hanging out. And then over time, eventually, he was like, oh, hold on, wait a second. That girl that you're hanging out with used to work for me. And that other person that you were hanging out with last week also used to work for me. What's going on? And then like going back through the years, I mean, like, oh, hold on, you're poaching my employees. Like, to me, that's somewhat plausible, right? Just because someone you have hired quits or resigns or is fired or whatever doesn't mean that that person's all of a sudden going to go work for your competitor. That's just not how it works necessarily, especially when it comes to kind of like the realms like this. Like, there's no reason to assume that anyone who worked at Mar-a-Lago would just suddenly work for Jeffrey Epstein next. It's just in my opinion, but that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me, that assumption.
On the younger side. So if he's already had a falling out over stolen workers, specifically a stolen worker who was later trafficked by Jeffrey Epstein, if he had heard complaints about this, if he knew about this, and in 2002 he makes this claim, that's a real problem. Whereas previously his kicking out and finding out about this apparent harassment of Mar-a-Lago clients, it doesn't happen until 2007. Now we're hearing it's been known about since 2000. So this presents a very fine line that the president has to walk in terms of what he knew when, because obviously you have to stick to your story that you kicked him out for being a creep, right? That's what was originally said. In fact, it's even been repeated by the White House. Stephen Chung in a statement claims the fact is that the president kicked him out of his club for being a creep. So that was the stated reason, but you can't know too much in 2000. Otherwise, it makes you look horrible when you compliment him for enjoying beautiful women. Because if you knew he was a creep and you didn't do anything about it, that's a problem. So when asked to explain this discrepancy, you know, well, you said he was kicked out for being a creep, then you said you did it because he was stealing your employees. Which is it? At first, we hear that they are related incidents.
President, you said yesterday your falling out with Jeffrey Epstein was over him taking some of the workers from your business. But your administration in the past said that you threw him out because he was a creep. So can you explain that discrepancy?
Well, maybe they're the same thing, you know, it's sort of a little bit of the same thing.
So there you see, he's saying they're related. Stealing the employees was related to him being a creep. So you knew something, but then later he kind of says, well, I didn't know what he was using these stolen employees for.
At the time, did you know why
That's
he
an
was
interesting
taking
take.
those young women, including Virginia?
No, I didn't know.
So the story just...
I mean, it's relatively, I would say, if we're disregarding Trump's potential involvement in Epstein's activities, sordid activities, with being, in particular, when it comes to being on the Epstein client list, I can kind of get maybe not entirely knowing exactly what Epstein was using these girls for, but I think to a certain level, it's like, what, we've got, like, you know, Epstein collecting, you know, underage girls like Pokemon characters, like for what? Like just to keep somewhere, or like to give him massages? Like, how many massages can one man get from multiple women? Like this, I think at a certain point it doesn't compute in comparison to the other explanation, right? I think it's fair to follow Occam's razor when you have the opportunity to do so. Trump had an island where, based on pretty much everything that we've heard, people were allowed to abuse minors, and he was poaching Trump's employees from Mar-a-Lago. I feel like it's really easy to connect the dots there.
Just keep keeps changing. I mean, it was 2007 that he kicked him out and closed his membership. Then it's 2000 when Virginia Giuffre was stolen because somehow that was creepy, but he didn't know what was actually happening. So why is it actually creepy that your employee gets stolen? That happens all over the time in companies everywhere. In fact, once again, the White House is adjusting their story, saying that it's just the taking of employees that is creepy. Quote, taking employees is most definitely creepy. How? If you don't know what's happening with this spa employee, how is it weird? Why are they saying, oh, we didn't know anything, but
well, I guess it depends on which sense you're trying to take the word creepy in. Like, it's predatory, for sure. One would argue that predators are creeps. But yeah, you could, maybe they're playing a little fast and loose with the language there.
At the time, it was creepy. I don't know. It's honestly insane. It makes me crazy following the story, and I have to document every time the story changes so you guys don't believe this nonsense. I mean, it's like, it is complete gaslighting. It's driving me crazy, and yeah, I just have to talk about it because we can't allow them to do this.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. And I'm glad that CoffeeZilla, at the very least, is one of the few people who's willing to go like, hey, we can't let this go. Because a lot of people, I think, are easily distracted if major news events happen in the future. That might cause people to be like, oh, well, you know, what's going on with the Epstein thing? I thought it all got sorted out. But yeah, no, it certainly has not been sorted out. Donald Trump is still covering for abusers, and I think it's worth keeping your eye on this story to see what happens next.